think we're going to get started. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. It's 4:01. Call the meeting to order. Are there any...
Yes, so Trustee Reyes is running a couple minutes late, right? Or President, sorry. I keep forgetting. President Reyes. So yeah, I'll note when she comes in.
Okay. Any oral communications?
None.
Moving on then to approval of the minutes. We can go ahead and review and approve the minutes from our January 8th meeting.
Yeah, I move to approve. Second.
Voting's open.
Can I just make one,
Change.
yeah.
Yeah.
The upcoming meeting schedule, I think the wrong date is there. I think it's March 12th is the next one, not the 13th.
Yeah, that was there last time, and we noticed it, but
Oh.
nobody corrected it.
Okay.
Okay. And so those are approved 4-0, and we'll just note the March 12th meeting.
Thank you. Moving on with our agenda to current business. Our second item, updates from the City of Escondido.
Okay, I have some updates in regard to the renovation project. So I just kind of want to go through this and share some of these with you. The flat alcove areas of the roof are 100% complete. The crews are currently working on installing those roof tiles, and that should be completed over the next couple of weeks. Electrical, right now, we are at 75% complete with electrical as the crews are continuing to work on some of the fixtures and lighting on the second floor right now. The sprinkler system, that is at 95% complete, which is actually really at 100% complete, but they can't consider it fully completed until they do a test. We cannot do a fire sprinkler test until everything is moved in. So technically this will remain at 95% until we're close to actually moving into the system or into the building. Wall insulation has been completed. We are 95% complete with the drywall installation as well. As far as IT is concerned, the city staff are currently scheduling walkthroughs of the space and identifying needs with regard to the new equipment and things that we're going to need within those spaces. And that will be happening within the next couple of weeks. The windows for the second floor will be going in starting next week and should take a few weeks for us to completely install those. The parking lot improvements, we are currently working on with the building department and getting all the requisite permits for the solar and EV charging stations. As you recall, that is a parallel project that we are running with Climatech called the Citywide Energy Roadmap, and so that is currently moving forward on a parallel path. The book stacks have been ordered and are scheduled for delivery on the first week of May. And then the furniture is also on order and is scheduled to be delivered shortly after the book stacks. So that is the conclusion of the updates that I have.
Thanks, Robert. Any questions?
EV charging stations, is it going to be free?
That I can't tell you, don't know. Be nice if it was, right?
Do we have an anticipated date of opening?
Right now, I'm having conversations with Reno and with Ed, who's our project manager. We are looking at moving in during the month of June with a grand opening sometime in July. We haven't nailed down a specific date as of yet, though.
And how long is our lease with the mall?
Right now, technically, we can actually lease with the mall through the end of 2026, so through December. but we had anticipated initially we had anticipated anywhere from 12 to about 15 months we would actually be present at the mall location, and we did budget for that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Robert. Moving on to item 3, staff report, Library Trust Fund Special Projects Expenses 2015 to 2023.
Hello. Good afternoon, Board of Trustees. My name is Leticia Leal, and I'm the Management Analyst for the Community Services Department. And I'll be presenting to you today on the Library Trust Fund Special Projects Expenses from 2015 to 2023. To begin, I'll provide an overview of the Board of Trustees' requests, along with the background information of the Library Trust Special Projects account. I'll then summarize the key findings from the review and outline the fiscal impacts those findings have had on the Library Trust Fund. And finally, based on the information presented, I'll conclude with a recommended action for the board's consideration. So at the request of the Library Board of Trustees, the Special Projects account of the trust fund was reviewed for expenses and requests for unapproved funds related to the library volunteer recognition. The Library Trust Special Projects account was established in fiscal year 1997 to support smaller library initiatives, staff training, travel, other minor expenses with no documented restrictions on the use. And in fiscal year 2023, the account was closed and its remaining balance was transferred to the Library Trust Fund to support future programming. I conducted a review of the expenditures from the Special Projects account along with the Library Board agendas and minutes from 2015 to 2023. And on February 14th, 2017, $500 was requested to use library trust funds from the Special Projects account to supplement the volunteer luncheon. And upon review of the expenditures for the 2017 volunteer luncheon, it was revealed that an additional $500 was used from the Special Projects account in support of this event without library trustees' approval. No other unauthorized expenditures were noted throughout that time frame. The balance of the trust fund to date remains accurate despite the unapproved expenditure, as it was already accounted for by the Finance Department. And we are requesting that the Library Board of Trustees retroactively approve the $500 withdrawn from the Special Projects account of the Library Trust Fund.
So I was under the impression that the $500 towards the volunteer luncheon had been paid out of the trust fund for several years in a row without approval, not just 2017.
Yes, I know initially I believe that's why we started this process, but upon review of all the agendas and the minutes, as well as the financial documentation from that particular account, that was the only one that was directly related to volunteer luncheon.
Maybe I'm just getting old, but I don't remember approving anything from 2019 through today.
So the approved amount that I did find was from 2017. And that was for
Okay, so for 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, there was no withdrawals from the trust fund?
No, not in the special accounts.
Okay, what do you mean not in the special accounts? From the trust fund, period?
Well, it was from this particular account that was set up, the special trust fund.
Okay, I'm getting confused. So library trust fund money was used for the I'm not questioning it's a great thing to do for the volunteers.
Sure.
But it appeared from the past conversations that there was an approval by the board way back when, and then all subsequent years were just withdrawn without board approval.
So upon review of all of the financials that we were provided, this account was the only one that had something listed as an expenditure for a volunteer luncheon
That 1 year.
that 1 year.
I don't remember doing this last year, approving it. Do you guys? Did they find some other place to get the money?
So from my understanding, from after also speaking to library program staff, when the volunteer program for the city came on, we actually provided like supplemental volunteer appreciation each year since 2022. And so they've been using that each year. And the Friends of the Library also provided some support for like cake or some beverages and things like that. That's what I understood.
Okay, so no one needed the money from the Library Trust Fund since that point.
That's from my understanding and also from the supporting documentation that
Okay.
we were able to
Well,
review.
Thank you.
John, I'm still confused too, because this question came up because you saw it listed as an expense in the library trust fund and you questioned it.
I've never had seen that before that meeting.
Right.
1 or 2 meetings ago. So I'm still a little confused.
So it's our understanding from seeing it listed in the library trust fund expenses that this amount was taken out, and that's what we previously discussed, and that's why it was questioned. Then a few meetings later, Robert had given an update that it seemed, I thought it was Robert, that it seemed that this fund had come out for several years, and that in a future board meeting, we would be asked to retroactively approve these unapproved expenses. And now, we were thinking we were going to approve that, but now you're saying that it was never taken out of the trust fund, when that is why we questioned it in the first place, because it was shown that it was.
Reno Landa, Library Director. Hi. One thing I think we can double check is whether it might have been a different account. I remember it being tied to literacy, not necessarily to the volunteer appreciation, but I can see them being commingled or confused. So I think I can help Leticia out and see if it was one of those. I remember it being literacy related, and it might be a literacy specific budget that was set up, because it was appreciation for our literacy volunteers. So I could see that confusion arising.
So where does the literacy budget come from?
That's also, I believe, a trust budget item.
Well,
So here's the can I jump in here really quick, is that the Leticia, our staff, reviewed a specific account within the library trust. She did not, unfortunately, review all of the accounts within the library trust. Because of the enormity of this, we need to go account by account. This is the first account that we've had an opportunity to look at. We will start going into each additional account and then provide you with an update in future meetings. But this was the first account, and this was the one that we have identified for you to be able to retroactively approve. She'll be doing another one coming up within the next month, and then probably another one with a month after that, because there are several accounts, unfortunately, and this process can be very involved. As you noted, we were supposed to give you this update in like December or January, I can't recall which one, but it was so involved, and we took a lot more time to be able to review those findings, and that's why. The good thing is that she has reviewed all of the documentation as far as the minutes and the agendas, so it will be a little bit quicker in that when she goes back to review, she only has to review the actual account expenditures going forward, because she knows what was approved and what was not approved with regard to the agendas for the library board.
okay, I'm sorry that you guys have to go through all this. Okay, but can the city say from this point forward that any monies needed to take out of the trust fund will be voted on by the trustees in advance?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, that is what we are committing to, and we understood and understand that was a concern of the Library Board of Trustees, and this is why you've requested that review. This is why we are conducting those reviews, and again, it goes all the way back to as far as 2015 right now, so that's where we're going to go back to and review. My guess is, just as you have alluded to, we're going to come up with a couple of other ones that we're going to have to come back with you at, unfortunately. So, and that is just a function of previous oversight of the trust fund with regard to the liaisons, whether it was a library director or it was a city employee. There was a misunderstanding of how that was supposed to get approved. And going forward, we will be very clear that this is a one-time expense. This will be an ongoing expense. We will make sure that gets into the minutes as you have voted on them, and we will assure that this will not happen again in the future.
And so my question
Yeah,
is,
thank you.
is someone able to, we're talking about an amount of 500 in item 3 in our packet. It's $1,000. Is there, can someone
So
clarify?
$500 was approved in the minutes, and then on the expense report for that account, it was actually $1,000 that was charged. So we're asking for the retroactive approval of the difference of $500.
Got it. Thank you. Any other questions?
I don't have any other questions, but do we do a motion to vote on this? So I would like to push forward a motion to vote. This is for 2016, 2017, or which
It was
fiscal year?
Yes, it was in 2017, February of 2017.
To retroactively approve $500 withdrawn from the special projects account of the Library Trust Fund in 2017.
17. Yes.
Is there a second? A second.
I'll second.
And then voting's open. Is it not? Something. There we go. And it's approved 5-0.
And Serena, just want to reiterate that although the item that's listed here that we voted on, it says, it's really just the item that's pulling directly from the agenda, and so it says 2015 to 2023.
Oh, I
In
got
minutes reflected, it'll be the motion
2017.
as.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
thank
have
you.
Francis's note on
Thank
there,
you.
so yeah, I'll note that in the motion for sure.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item number 4, the presentation of monthly statistical report.
There we go. Thank you for the wait. I do have it pulled up now. So we are looking October, November, December. Statistic report, nothing unusual to report for the statistics. I will note that our total registered borrows did cross the 100,000 mark, but I also mentioned that in looking at these numbers, I did check with our Polaris team, which is the one that manages the back end of registrations, et cetera. And while I'm very happy that we've reached 100,000, I do have to caution that I do believe that there's been a number of years where old, unused library patron accounts have not been cleared out. So this does not necessarily mean that we have 100,000 active patrons. It does mean that we've had at least 100,000 people sign up for library cards since the last time we maintained these. So you might see some adjustments in years coming down that decrease it as we figure out which ones those were. But it's still a worthy accomplishment that at least since we've been signing people up, we've reached at least 100,000. But do note that does not necessarily mean while I would love it to be true, that we have 100,000 people checking out books all the time, that is not necessarily the case here. Beyond that, I am also happy to report that checkouts of both physical and digital have remained steady while we're at the mall. So we didn't see the typical dip, even though we had a decrease in hours in December because of the holidays, but overall stayed consistent with the 30,000-ish mark that we've been seeing recently at the mall. I've also been pleasantly surprised to see increases and fairly steady with our Link Plus usage. As a reminder, Link Plus is our interlibrary loan service that we offer at no cost to our patrons. So we are seeing slight but steady growth in Link Plus.
Reno, the Link Plus, the last time I paid, I guess I haven't looked at this in that particular item in a couple months, or at least it didn't stick out to me. It used to be almost 50-50. We lent out as much as we borrowed in through Link Plus. It looks like that's swung in the other direction.
So we are borrowing more than we are lending.
Right.
Which is typically what we like to see, because that means our users are knowing about Link Plus and are engaged. As far as lending out, that just might mean that either other libraries are borrowing from other locations. We have had more libraries join Link Plus, the network, and some larger systems join. So that might be affecting, if somebody is up north in California, rather than borrowing from us, they might borrow from LA or one of the other bigger systems. And so that has a potential effect. I don't have access to that data in the immediate sense when I'm doing these reports. I am part of the Link Plus administrative group, so I could probably learn more, but that's essentially what you might see there. I think the positive is more of us are borrowing and making use of Link Plus here locally.
Yeah, it's a great offer. I really appreciate having it.
Any questions about the stats? I'm seeing if there's anything I should mention.
I just have a quick question. I don't know if you'll be able to answer it right now, but for the total registered borrowers, you gave us the explanation of
Yes.
active versus non-active, but I'm just curious, since the library moved to the mall, what is the percentage increase in terms of total borrowers? I'm assuming it was probably in the 90,000s before, but just wondering if we have like a number to attach to that.
I don't have it off the top of my head. I'd have to look that up for us. As far as how many, let's see how many new cards we've had since being at the mall, for example, would be one way of measuring this.
Yeah.
I think the answer is probably in the executive summary that you put out in September.
Yeah. And essentially, if you want to think of it, we've been averaging around 700 cards per month while at the mall, essentially. And then doing the math, we can extrapolate. The most recent number I saw was for calendar year 2025, as I'm preparing stats for the city for another report, and that one was close to 8,000 for calendar year 2025, but that's not specific to just the year for the mall use. But like I said, we've been averaging about 700 cards each month, with some months going up closer to 900.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if there's a way to attach like a percentage to that.
Yeah, I can certainly find that.
There's been a X amount of percentage increase of total registered borrowers since the move.
The number of new cards from the last report, I vaguely remember, was around in the 30% increase, more or less. Don't quote me exactly on that, but it's roughly in that. But I can pull those stats. And we'll have plenty of stats once we move back to see the full year of being at the mall, and then we'll be able to compare that both retroactively with how we were doing leading up to the move, and then post-move when we return to our renovated space to see what kind of difference, if any, we see between each location. And I'm sure that'll help the board with any recommendations as far as talks of branches in either the mall or elsewhere come up.
Yeah. Thank you.
Reno, just out of curiosity, under literacy,
Yes.
the second to the last books distributed, why was there such an increase in December?
This has to do with the way that literacy does outreach, and sometimes we'll have a surplus or we'll have a big outreach event, especially during the holidays. There's a lot of expectation that we'll be giving out something, and since literacy has a lot of books to give out as one of their incentives for engaging with the community, that's why you see that uptick, especially in December. And it's really more tied with where they find those outreach opportunities and whether it's a good match for a lot of kids. Usually they give a lot of books out for children and families at those events. So if you would have been at Love ESCO, you would have seen that. We had our literacy team there just recently, and they give out a bunch of books to people that stop by the library's table.
Awesome.
Hi, Reno. Thank you. Looking back to the number of registered borrowers, I believe a couple months ago we had talked about that California was going to come out with an initiative to get, I think, all kindergarteners or up to grade 5 registered. Do you know what the timeline was that for fall 26?
There is, there's this called something the Student Success Card, is what the state calls it. It is to incentivize public libraries and schools, especially, to partner in order to allow any student up through, like you said, I think it's grade 5, there might be a cutoff there, to have a library card or have access to a card. It is not mandated, but it is encouraged. We are still in the works with working with our school systems. The ideal setup for this, by the way, is to have it so that a school uses their identifying number, like a school ID number or a student number, and that becomes the library card by default. However, as you can imagine, that involves us, one, getting permission and working with the schools to have that done, and then also working with you, the trustees, to ensure that any policy adjustments to align with those school requirements are also made, and sometimes those don't necessarily jive. We have seen some library systems be faced with pushback from either the schools or the parents about whether they want to have that kind of access readily available. So given the current state of us moving back and forth from the mall, it hasn't been something we've researched in too much depth. The alternative that we usually propose for those that want to have that access is our online use cards, so access through Libby, since anybody can go in and sign up for our digital use only card. Granted, if they want to check something else out, they do have to come in and finalize that for a physical permanent card. But for quick access and for meeting the requirements of that state initiative, our digital access only cards also count.
Got it. So it sounded like that the effort may have been paused due to the move. Is
Correct.
that something that you are looking to pick up back once we're back in our location?
Yes, it's certainly something that we have not forgotten about, and it will require us to work with both you, the board, and our local partners, especially in the schools and the city, to make sure that everybody aligns and agrees with what the policy is in use for, whether it's a specific card for our students or if we roll it into one of our other existing policies for just getting a library card but making it easier. There's a lot of different approaches that can be done. I've seen some systems where they might say there is a specific card or category of patron that allows for this, but it excludes checking out certain materials, or it's limited to only online, or it might be limited to just children's books or teen books, etc. And those are all things that we have to work out before we even really start discussing in seriousness with the school system to say, like, hey, let's give us all your student ID numbers so that way we can just automatically include those in our catalog system. As you can imagine, there'll be a lot of questions brought up by the schools if we start that process, and we want to be ready to move forward and make sure that you're all informed of what that might mean. But we can certainly have those conversations once we return. That's really the goal right now.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Reno.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Okay, I think we can move on to library director's report.
All right. So we have a few items. I'll mention that the city did share with me a number of display boards. So these were probably what you would have seen when you went on your initial tours of the space. And it's what City Council and others saw when they were touring. So these are initial renderings of what we envision the renovated library space will look like. Right now, they're in my office at the mall, but we are probably this week, if not by Monday, posting these up in the mall with a little bit of context, seeing what people would see, and to start giving the public a small preview of what the renovated library spaces will look like, if at least just the vibes of the space, because some details have shifted slightly, but overall the look and feel of the space is there, and they'll be able to get a sense of what that'll look like. Tying into that, we were very happy to work with Fox 5 KUSI on a segment as part of their video podcast, Read All About It. It was shared with the city and with the library earlier this week, and as soon as we had it and they had posted it up on Instagram, we shared it, so you will find it shared on both our Instagram and our Facebook. If you don't have either of those and would like a copy, I do have one. I'm happy to share that with you, so just let me know. Otherwise, you can find it linked on our social media accounts, and I believe the city also cross-posted and promoted it, and so you'll find it on that as well. It's about a few minute segment. It starts with discussion about the libraries at the mall, preview of the space, people using it, and then also goes with Robert giving the team a brief tour of the space and construction. So it's nice. We're getting good coverage, and we're working with our local media partners to build more of that momentum and interest in the renovated new spaces at the main library. Next two items are more of previews of upcoming sessions, just so you have an idea of what we will be coming forward. As we prepare to return to the main library and with new spaces and enhanced and different services, we do anticipate the need to review existing policies for any changes. We'll be starting with next month. We anticipate having before you a review of the acquisition and temporary display of art in the library. This aligns with the city and the library's goal to make it easier for our community arts organizations and partners to have rotating and diverse exhibits of art throughout the library. And I'm working with Robert and Ed, our project manager, to see how we can best utilize those wall spaces, either through using art railing to have easy to swap out collections, and moving in that direction rather than having permanent art collections or displays in the library. We want to focus the library moving forward on that community engagement through the arts, building partnerships with our existing and new arts organizations, and also bring in our schools. I know there's a lot of schools that have very robust art programs, so highlighting children, teen, local arts also, especially in our new teen spaces, for example, or in our tween space, our children's space, to give that room for highlighting and making that library feel like it's theirs. So other policies we'll be reviewing, of course, code of conduct at some point, and some of those that relate specifically to how people use and interact the library spaces. So you might see updates to how we might want to handle room reservations or use of space. I've mentioned the code of conduct, as we might need to review to make sure that what's in there isn't contradicting how we intend the space to be used. So for example, we might need to include updates on what it means to be inside the quiet room. What does it mean to use the teen space? Things like that as we move forward in preparation for our grand reopening later this year. And last but not least, we are also looking into another way of commemorating and building excitement for our grand reopening, which is the creation of limited edition or commemorative library cards for when we return. Right now, I'm working internally with the team to see if we can find historical images, documents, or things that can be used as one design example. We'll look at other ones that might highlight prior art, so maybe one of the murals or both of the murals. And my intent is to, once we have a couple good design options, bring these before you, the board, for input on design and change before finally posting it to the public. Maybe like a top 3 choices to see which one is the one that they want to work with. And then that'll go into a limited production of probably around 1,000 or so library cards, which will commemorate the grand reopening and build that excitement. So that's just a little bit of preview. I don't have any designs, but that's essentially what we anticipate doing going forward. Before I move on to the highlights, any questions about my updates?
I have a question on something that wasn't covered here, but is kind of in this last month, we talked about a collections budget, and I think Maribel was going to provide Robert with a letter, and I was just wondering if there's any update on that.
Maribel, President Reyes did send me that letter. I received that today. The timing is really good because we are in the middle of our budget process. I will be submitting a request to increase that budget. Those are due by March 1st. And so at that point, it is then up to our executive management team to make decisions on how to allocate funding, and that's across the board, not just for our collections budget. But I am advocating for that specifically for you, as I know that is a very important part of your desire to ensure that our collection is refreshed on a regular basis and we have enough funding to be able to do that. Just on a very similar note to that, next week, your request for $40,000 from the trust into that library budget, the collections budget, will go to the City Council on the 18th, so next week. And I will be present if they decide to pull that item. It is currently on consent.
Thank you.
Thanks, and then I'll have an update for the trustee report too on some of the circulation
Okay.
stuff.
Thank you.
All right, if no
Reno,
other questions, I'm happy.
sorry, real quick.
Yeah.
Looping back to the library cards, I just do want to extend the request that whichever the three options before they go public to vote on, if those could be brought to the board. I don't want a repeat of the mural when that was released to the public without us knowing. So that is a request that I have for you.
Yes, and that is my plan, is to have, if not the final three, then at least give you a sampling of 4, or to narrow it down, at least a first pass, so that way you are aware of what those designs going to the public will be before we post them, and then have the public decide what the final vote might be. And I'm sure all the designs we present will be ones we are all happy with. That's my goal anyways.
Well, I just wanted to say that I think it's really good to see things like limited edition cards and the update to the policies, especially for art. That's all well and good. I'm glad to see you working on that.
And I reiterate, love the limited edition library cards. I think from a marketing perspective, it helps to also generate the buzz and awareness. Just had a question on, was the thought and approach there that the limited edition then would only be for new borrowers, or would existing borrowers be able to get the limited edition cards?
Excellent question. This is typically what we like to do in libraries, is to give the option if they want to come in and update or upgrade their card. We'll do that without a cost this time, just so that way we can commemorate the fact that we are grand opening, brand new building, and to encourage people to come in, even if it's just for that, to swap out their library card.
Thank you.
I don't know if this is a question for Robert or Reno, but Maribel mentioned the mural, and I saw that it's up. So I don't know where we're at, or is it completed? Or
So it is not completed yet. The artist still has approximately 3 to 4 weeks worth of work to complete it, but it is very close.
Oh, it looks great. I saw it the other day, and it's coming along quite well.
Rena, one more question.
Yep.
Sorry. I was able to see the Fox 5 feature, and I thought that you and Robert both did a great job. Very, very nice interview. I was just curious on your feelings on the public, and it seems like a lot of people are really excited that we are in the mall, and it was kind of exciting to see that we are in the mall. So when we move back to the library location, I'm just worried that people are going to be bummed about us leaving the mall, and what are your thoughts on that, or what have you been, has any community members expressed that to you directly?
I can say that for sure, as I'm sure most of you are aware, there's a lot of positive feedback and buzz about the libraries at the mall. I review the common cards every month when we send them to the city, and this last month, almost every common card mentioned how much people loved being at the mall. There was only one card that did not, and that was mentioning, some collections-related suggestions. But every other card, both in English and in Spanish, mentioned how much they loved and how convenient it is having the library at the mall. Those cards, of course, go to the city, and so those are made aware and passed on beyond just me and Robert, of course. So there is an awareness. I cannot speak beyond that. I just know that people are excited to have us there, just like I'm sure they'd be excited to have us anywhere else in the community. And beyond that, my role is to make it as easy for our decision makers to decide whether or not that is something that we continue to have, probably not in the immediate future, but at some point, and provide the data that I've been doing so far, the reports as you request them, to show what the differences are between the mall, downtown, and then, of course, once we return, we'll be tracking, and I'll be happy to provide any reports comparing checkouts or usage or any comments we receive, good or bad, about the library in any kind of sense. Yeah.
I also wanted to give kudos on that, on the Fox 5 feature. And so did they approach you all, or has your staff and team been kind of garnering that PR? I know that it was part of the Read All About It segment, but I was just curious about how it all came to be.
I don't remember 100%. I'll say for sure that I don't turn down interviews if I can help it, because I do believe that the more people know about what the library is doing, the better. But I will also mention that Robert and I and the city communications team are actively pursuing more partnerships and more news stories, especially to highlight our return to the library and all the different library services going forward. I can also mention that my team, we have Azar, who is our outreach and engagement community librarian. She's made a number of connections recently, and we're working now with potentially some print highlights of the library renovation. And of course, Robert and the city communications team are also pursuing as much avenues as we can to get the community informed and up to date about what is happening with their library.
Well, kudos, because I pay attention to that stuff. That is my wheelhouse, and I will say in my time of being a trustee, I've certainly noticed. I know even last month we had commented on there being the UT article, et cetera, so just kudos on the awareness, on getting the press, however it comes. But I was just curious. I'm like, did you all pitch to them, or did they approach you? But that's great either way, so thank you. Any other questions on this existing? I know Rena's will still has ongoing highlights to cover. Okay, I think you can continue, Reno.
All right. I'll be brief with these. I will mention that I know that the Knights Realm Chess Club was a concern. We had a little bit of a dip initially as we were trying to get back into the mall, but the most recent event was very successful. We had 15 children and teens attending. They were all very excited to have chess there. I'm always happy to see our youth playing chess and trying out, even if it's their first time, or getting the coaching from our volunteers there. So very excited to see that. Our graphic novel book club is also doing very well. This one I particularly liked because it aligns well with our adult programs and general programs related to succulent swaps. This one happened to be about a youth that learns they can speak with plants and have a little succulent that is their friend. So I thought that was a nice way of tying together a variety of our different aged programs. We are also trying a variety of new adult programs. So we had a number of a series called Try Every Day, where they tried different kind of lesser known or unusual hobbies, trying different skills. So like they did calligraphy, journaling, container gardening, and candle making. Again, giving our community a variety of different options to explore interests. Of course, we're continuing with our Healthy You series. We still have yoga, and we have other kind of physical activities. In this case, you're seeing it at the mall activity space. So again, our partners at the mall are very generous with letting us use different spaces to accommodate the variety of programs that we do for all ages. And last but not least, I've been very happy to see the amount of programs and variety of programs coming out of our Pioneer Room or historical resources. We had recently a historian from Camp Pendleton come and talk about all the different historical sites and artifacts that are there. Just yesterday, our staff went on a tour of Camp Pendleton and these historic sites to better understand the history of the region and to then better connect with our patrons when explaining it, especially in our historical center and outreach. And of course, part of the aspects of the Pioneer Room is not just having the space and having programs there, but also, of course, the preservation and sharing of our history. So we have recently digitized and publicized on our digital platform the St. Clair family collection of photographs. You can see some samples here. So these are from the early 1900s, photos of family that lived here and had both farming and storefronts here in Escondido, and you can now look at those online. So every once in a while we do add more and more of our print and physical artifacts. Those are digitized, cataloged, and then preserved digitally to be shared with the public as part of the mission of the Pioneer Room. And that is it. Any questions, comments?
I have a question. How are you doing with participants for the Latino and Escondido project from the Pioneer Room?
I'll have to get the final count, but from what I understand, the grant, of course, is closed, but we've retained all the equipment, and so we are still continuing that project. I've been very happy to see the partnership with our literacy team and the Pioneer Room has really helped with getting more participants. I don't have the count off the top of my head, but I can get that to us either for next meeting or before I can send out an email to the board just to see. I can ask our archivist, Ashley, to give me a quick little update as far as the success and how many interviews we've done, what has been processed, what is the timeline looking for sharing some of them. As a reminder, some oral histories, there's a clause where they might say, please don't publish this until I've passed away or after a certain amount of time. But some will also say, I'm happy to share the story whenever you're ready. So you might not necessarily see all those oral histories published right away because of elements like that. And that's part of best practices to encourage truthful, honest, and full oral histories being shared. Because as we all know, some family histories are a little messy and not everybody wants that out while they're still alive, which is baked into the best practices of historical archives and oral histories in particular. But I can get you a count at the very least and get a little bit of a project update. If not via email, then I can send it up and do a presentation at our next meeting or one after.
Yeah, I just want to get a sense of whether you feel we've hit the target that you all had for that grant. So thank you, Reno.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, moving on to the trustee library use report. Let's start. Go ahead, Virginia.
I just want to thank you for all of the events that seem to be popping up all over the place and the visibility on those. I was really pleased to see that we're honoring Black History Month with the speaker that you guys had at the library this past weekend. And then I like that it was also tied, I think the same day, a few hours apart, to I think it's the adult artsy, I think it was a wine arts and craft, and that would have been perfect for me to spend my day there, but unfortunately I was busy, so I was so bummed to miss it, but I was really glad to see those events and honoring Black History Month. What I did do this month was I was listening to a podcast and an author was talking about a book. I didn't think our library would have the book, so I thought, oh, this is a perfect opportunity to use the interlibrary loan and see if I can request a book because I've never done that before. So I went to the website, I put the book name in, and our library had it, and it was available. So I just requested it to hold, and for someone that's busy, it's just really nice to know that I could just go to the desk and pick it up and be out of there in 5 minutes. So I had a really great experience with that. Thank you.
Well, I haven't had, it's been a very busy month for me. So because of, I really don't want to use the euphemism for personal reasons, but it is. I just have to cut back on the amount of volunteer work I do. And so I looked at the other organizations where if I am not there, it could be a problem. But with the library board, you guys are great. You can do just fine. So this is one of the things I have to cut back on. So March will be my last month. It's been great
Oh.
working with you guys.
Well, I want to be the first one to say thank you, John. I think you've been a fierce advocate for the library. You encouraged me to apply to the board, so I think, hopefully, in many ways, we will still be engaged with the board. So we really appreciate it. I didn't go to the library earlier. This past month, I went. The city held I think it was a Measure I. Budget meeting, and I just wanted to hear and give feedback to the city about priorities and how we want to use Measure I, because when that was rolling out, we were under the impression that the library would be covered under there, even though a lot of the marketing didn't seem to include that. And so I was able to speak with some of the city folks there and Christian Garcia. And so I got the sense that the city council had a prior workshop, and they outlined, I believe, 5 key priorities where a lot of these funds will be going to there. And I did inquire, and it does not appear that the library was among those top 5 priorities. So I just do want the board to know. I inquired whether the library was in part of those conversations, and I didn't get a response on that. But I did take the opportunity to speak with Council Member Christian Garcia and just kind of give him a little bit update about our circulation budget, our collections budget, and how it's remained stagnant. And so I can work with Reno, where I can share the materials on the research that Reno had provided to me. Christian seemed open to learn more about where we are right now with the collection budget. And felt that if it warranted an increase, that he could support that. So I could pursue that conversation with Councilmember Christian and possibly reach out to the other council members.
Can I make a suggestion? I think we ought to get on the agenda at a council meeting in the very near future, and just, it'll only take a couple minutes to lay out what's needed in the collection budget. And I'd love to set that up for you if you want.
Yeah, Robert, I believe in the last meeting, we had said that you would look to get us a presentation and overview of the budget process, because we want to definitely be able to get ahead of this and not so much kind of at the tail end of these deadlines and have these conversations.
Right. The first step, as I mentioned earlier, the first step of that process is submitting a request, and those requests are due by March 1st. Then following that period of time, that goes to the executive management team, and they review it. I have just today, they established a meeting for all of the budgets within my area, and that includes the library, and that will be set for April 1st. Then I believe the first round will be going to City Council. It will be mid-April. I don't have the exact date on me. I apologize for that. And then after that, they'll do another round probably in May, with the final adoption of the full budget coming up in June.
Got it.
Yeah, I'm not real comfortable with that because of the people that I know at City that aren't really interested in doing anything. I'm sorry, but that's my opinion. Not you. You've been a great help, Robert. But I think, and I'll do it on my own if I need to. I'll go before council just in a 3-minute. What do they call that, Serena? You use oral communication, and I can do in 3 minutes everything we need to do.
Yeah, I definitely think we can present something formally to the council, and I think it would be wise for us to get in contact with the council, I think, before this mid-April, because I feel that once it gets to that mid-April deadline, the city already has a recommendation.
I think you're absolutely right.
And so hopefully before that timeline, the city council would have heard our feedback and communicate to the city. Again, the council had already decided upon their priorities, and I think part of that could have been that, I think in an ideal world, we would have communicated this to the council prior to whenever that workshop happened and had that at top of mind. But I think this is where we are now. And so John and I can work on that. And if there's any other trustees that have feedback on that, happy to hear it.
So you and John will work on exactly what and when, just so that I'm clear, because a lot was discussed.
What I would like to do, if I can get it through the city clerk's office, get on the agenda. If I can't, then it'll be an oral communication.
Why wouldn't we do that as the library board with Maribel?
If we can get on the agenda, yeah. But for the oral communications, it's just one person usually, and it's 3 minutes.
Yeah. But I mean, I would prefer that we first try to come together, like as a agenda item with all of, what you want to say and what you want to, the message you want to convey, and have it come through Maribel and the board, on behalf of the board.
Yes, I think that's what John's saying.
Okay.
He's going to try to get us on council as an agenda item so that we can all, me, John, or all go before the board. But if that's not possible.
I'm seeing what you say makes perfect sense, other than the timing. If
Okay.
we have to agree on something by the next meeting, I think that's already too late.
Okay, I'm okay with the message that you and Maribel come up with to speed up the process. So I appreciate you both making that charge.
Thank you. Also in support of the continued advocacy on collections. We've discussed it many a time here together as board, so in full support, and also for whatever is needed, giving updates on where we might need to be, dates, times, et cetera. So thank you. For my library use, I also want to reiterate what Virginia said. I mean, just great job with all the programming. So much. I know last meeting I was like, I'll be there candle making, but to Maribel's point, gosh, they fill up quick, which is great. That is such a great sign that these are, you're seeing booked attendance at these well in advance. So didn't get to go. My son has been to the library. He has a minimum day every Wednesday, and my sister takes him. So I know he's been enjoying it. I have definitely still been enjoying the Libby, my usage via Libby, and have been very pleasantly surprised with not having much of a wait time either. Just there's been a lot more selection that's readily available right away versus maybe having to have a hold and wait a few weeks. So that's been really, really great.
Cool. And I don't know if I'll get another chance to say this up here, but John, you are one of the most knowledgeable and thoughtful citizens about library services in Escondido. You care immensely about the city, and it shows in every meeting. I just wanted to say thank you for your service and dedication. And then with my family, this past month, we visited the booth at the Love Esco Day, and they absolutely loved it. Well done on everything connected to that booth, especially the interaction between the kids and the staff was just top notch. So that's all I have.
Can I just make one more comment? Sorry. Since John is going to be off the board, and I believe Maribel and Francis's terms are up is March, like the last term meeting, and I don't know where we'll be at past that, but I will have to miss the June Library Board of Trustees meeting, just letting you guys know.
Yeah, the way it's looking there'll be two openings with me resigning for this, for whoever applies. There'd be two openings. Make sure you get that out on social media. There's two openings. It appears, based upon the schedule of, I can't remember who it is on council that does the interviewing, but one of them who needs to be there can't be there, so the interviewing is going to be delayed, so you will not have a new trustee till probably April, not May, not March.
But will we have 3 openings? Yeah, it'll be 3 openings.
3?
Maribel and Francis are. It's just me and Giselle.
Yeah, but they'll probably get renewed.
Okay, and I think with that, we can adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
5:01.